Good morning and welcome everybody to our fourth episode of Africa Talks. My IJP colleague Eka and me, we are saying hello to all of you today. Africa Talk is designed as a digital platform for exchange of African and European topics, exchange of knowledge and ideas between journalists and experts from civil society from both continents. We want to talk about impacts and consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Marco Romer. I'm a member of the board of the International Journalist Program's IJP.
My name is Eka Neumann, and I am the coordinator of the African program of the IJP. And I'm very excited about the discussion and what we're going to learn and hear today from the African continent as well as Europe.
Our topic of today, in the light of COVID-19, how to create jobs and offer Africa's youth prospects for a good future. Africa's development is depending on the creation of sufficient prospects for employment and earnings. Education is one part of the medal. In response to the pandemic, there has been widespread school closures across Africa. Research shows that school closures exacerbated previously existing inequalities and that children have been most affected who were already most at risk of being excluded from a quality education. What are the impacts of these developments? How to offer Africa's youth prospects for a good future in their home countries? These and other questions we want to discuss with our experts of today.
I like to introduce to you Makandawaya. He's an education program manager of Plan International, and he started his work at Plan International about 15 years ago. And he, prior to his him being an education manager, program manager, he started as a regional officer at Plan International Malawi. Then he's got a background in education as well as a master in community development, and he's also got insight from his him being a teacher, and he taught as well as government schools as well as private schools. So we are very curious to hear from him and his experience.
Thanks, Eka. Our second guest is Thomas Rolf. He is head of program at Gesellschaft for International Zusammenarbeit, GIZ, and currently responsible for the global project within the special initiative training and job creation. I think we Germans are outstanding in creating titles and project and program titles. He worked for many years in private sector development in Egypt, in Ethiopia, and in the Philippines. And he was previously involved in different positions in strategy consulting in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in Frankfurt and Düsseldorf in Germany. He graduated at the University of Frankfurt and holds an MBA. Welcome to Africa Talks, Thomas.
So, and then we have Mr. George Cantreph. He's a teacher from the New Haven Montessori School in Ghana, Accra. And this is a private school which he's been teaching for 5 years, and he's got students from primary and secondary school. And he's got a passion for innovative teaching methods. I really love to learn about that later. And a background as well as in economics, as well as in education. So welcome.
But before we start, before we start with Foster's input, I would like to introduce our graphic recorder, Wiebke Koch, to all of you. She will take graphical notes of this session so that we all have a graphic protocol, so to say. Wiebke, welcome to Africa Talks.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be part of this and to listen to your inputs and the discussion. I'm a visual facilitator and graphic recorder, and the notes I take now will be available on the website afterwards as well.
Thank you, Wiebke. Furthermore, I will invite all of our participants in the stream on YouTube or on Facebook stream and on our Zoom call to contribute to our discussion. You're more than welcome to enrich our talk with your questions and comments. And Now, Foster, the floor is yours, and please be aware that you have 5 minutes for your input. That is an experience we made out of the coming out of the last calls. We will set a countdown, not to make you nervous, but to give you a sign that you see how long you are talking already. And we want to start a discussion, and therefore it is important that we have time to discuss our topics. So, Foster, if you don't mind, we are very honored that you will start your input now.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. My name is Foster Mkandawire. As Eka has already introduced me, I work for Plan International Malawi. Plan is a child-centered organization working in areas of education, sexually reproductive health and rights, and also child protection. So to begin with, thank you very much, Marco, and my colleague, George, and also Thomas, for being my counterparts. So to start with, let me just briefly talk about the scale of COVID in Malawi. By now, the confirmed cases for COVID in Malawi is at 5,965. And out of that number, 5,399 are the recovered cases. And so far, we have only registered 185 deaths. So you can see that the scale has not been very devastating as compared to either Germany or any other Western country. Now, to answer your question, Marco, on the impact of COVID on education in Malawi, for example, the impact has been so alarming in the sense that in April this year, there was a hasty close down of school. This happened even before learners had taken their end of term test. That is for primary school, secondary school, and even for the university. And this immediately meant that learning had to discontinue because all the learners had been told to go home, and we immediately, there was also an attempt to close down through the lockdown, so that would have also restricted the movement of the learners, the restriction on the movement of the teachers, and whoever was involved in the education sector. So during the school shutdown, there were a number of issues which emanated, and the first issue which I want to share with the team on the line is the fact that the learning discontinued, and now the children were now found to be loitering in their homes, right? And so difficult to have control over the children. And the first impact is the fact that because of too many household chores, some of the girls, they became pregnant. There was a lot of inequalities among the girls. I can report to you that the Ministry of Gender in Malawi, they conducted a survey, and it came out that 40,000 girls became pregnant within the six months of school closure. This was a result of idleness, because the girls were not doing anything, and the only thing they could do was to get engaged in sexual activities, and hence the number of it got very high. The other impact was the fact that in Malawi we also have private schools, and the directors and even teachers of private schools, they lost a lot of income, because once the schools had been closed, it means school fees collection had been stopped. So there was a decision that the contracts for teachers in private schools were discontinued, they were curtailed, and this loss led to the loss of income for over 30,000 teachers in Malawi. And in addition to that, it means even the number of learners who were supposed to go back to school through private schools had also reduced. Now that the schools, there was a decision by the government that we had to open schools. The life in school had not been normal because the space for learning has also been reduced because of the double shifting, just to maintain the social distancing. And to that effect, it meant that the schools were now being managed through the shifting, the staggered learning, where a group of learners were coming in the morning, another group was coming in the afternoon, and this created a lot of pressure on the teachers as well as the learning space, because we had to maintain the social distancing. And the other impact, even after schools had opened, was that among the guidelines for school opening was the fact that all the core curriculum activities had to stop immediately. So even if schools learners had been called back to school, but there were some restrictions on the social gathering, so that the extracurricular activities could not take place, no sporting, no clubs, no interaction among the learners. So the only thing that would happen is just to go to class, knock off, and go home. And that also has an impact on the social emotional learning for the learners. The other impact of COVID is the fact that it has revealed to Malawi government that we were not prepared, yeah, because even after schools had opened, it has been discovered that so many schools lack potable water, and about 400 schools in Malawi, they lack potable water. One of the COVID protocols, prevention protocol, is the fact that the learners have to wash hands, teachers have to wash hands, and in the absence of the potable water, it means the habit of hand washing has been hampered in some of the schools because of lack of potable water. So briefly, this is what I can talk about, especially the total number of girls who had been found to be pregnant is so high, about 40,000 girls who were pregnant and they could not return to school. Let me quickly also talk about the positive impact. The positive impact of COVID in Malawi is the fact that we have also learned that we can diversify the learning process. Instead of relying on the classroom setup, we should have also tried to do the online learning, the distant learning, and even make sure that we promote the radio lessons, so that even learners, during the emergencies, learners can be able to still attend lessons in spite of the shortage of space in schools. So briefly, this is what I can talk about in terms of the impact of COVID in Malawi education system. Thank you very much, Marco.
Okay, thank you very much, Foster Mkandawire, for these very interesting insights. And now, Thomas Rolf, now the floor is yours, and we are delighted to hear your input. And we would also appreciate if you could stick to our 5 minutes so that we have time to discuss in the end.
Thank you very much. I'm switching on the timer. Yeah, thank you very much, really, for the opportunity to introduce the special initiative on training and job creation, how it is called. You already mentioned we have long titles sometimes. In short, it's called Invest for Jobs. But it's also a pleasure, really, to be connected here with colleagues in Malawi and in Ghana. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion afterwards. Now, I mentioned the initiative, in short, Invest for Jobs. It's an initiative by the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, and implemented, among others, by the GIZ and the KfW. So the institutions that implement the development cooperation for the federal government in Germany. Now, the political background, just in one word, is that the special initiative is connected to the G20 Compact with Africa, and also the Marshall Plan with Africa. And it had, and it has still, the objective to create new and better jobs in selected countries. There are 7. I'm coming to that, and the number is 100,000 jobs. So that is the target. Now, when in February and March, COVID, the pandemic arose, we changed the objective in that way that we kept the 100,000 jobs, but we also added another target, which is to maintain and to keep already existing jobs. And I'm giving one example within the initiative, how we did and dealt with that. Now, at the moment, the initiative is active in Morocco, in Tunisia, in Senegal, in Ghana, and in Ethiopia, in Cote d'Ivoire and Rwanda, and hopefully very soon also in Egypt. Now, the example I would like to give you is called the Digital Skills Accelerator Africa. As a methodology, you can imagine that we were searching for companies. Oh, by the way, I should mention something. The unique selling point of the special initiative is that we not trying to set up policies in these countries and then wait for the impact years after. What we're going to do is we talk directly to companies and we make kind of a deal saying, what is the obstacle, the investment barrier that you have to invest in jobs and to employ people? And then they would say, yeah, we need people trained in this or that. And we would say, okay, that's exactly what we do. And we're going to build a training center for your needs and other companies, and you employ them. So it's more like a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. So we had in this one example, the Digital Skills Accelerator, a bunch of companies, also large companies, companies based in Ghana, for example, smaller companies, medium-sized companies, bunch of them, and they created an association. And it turns out that the field of digital services, so we're not only talking about programming, but it's like digital services, on-site support, business process outsourcing, this kind of things are a real opportunity and is a trend, I'm rather sure, for African countries where they can expand and create new jobs, especially for young people who come out of school, because traditionally they are more IT connected to rather than probably the oldest generation. So they have like a very good chance to find jobs here. Now, as an example, within the Digital Skills Accelerator Africa, in a response, I mean, we had many of them. One example was that there is a company called Majorel, which is also active in Morocco and in Ghana. And we were able to support them to keep thousands of jobs by supporting them in terms of, for example, transport, in terms of investing into home office possibilities to work also from home and remote, so that not everyone had to sit in a center next to next, so they could keep the jobs. And even though in some, let's say, sectors of digital services like tourism, there was like a decrease, but in other sectors, as you can imagine, especially with the pandemic or connected to the pandemic, we had higher demand in the market, and also that would be the last result, really. Even though we had COVID, there are jobs being built in that sector, and that keeps us very hopeful, and I think it's promising. So this was 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rolf, for these interesting and promising insights. And it would be very nice if we could now follow with George. I would like to introduce, and maybe you could start with your presentation. Also, 5 minutes would be great, so that we have enough time to still discuss. And what is your perspective being a teacher in Ghana? What have you got for us? Or does it look like that George is just lost right now? So maybe we could continue with our first question and answer session, and then we'll have George.
This
Oh,
George,
George,
I'm
you're
back.
there?
I think my internet connection.
Yes.
Yes, please. I'm around.
Okay, that's great. So please start with your presentation and tell us what the things are like in education and in school in Ghana. We are curious to hear from you.
All right. Thank you so much for such an amazing platform. And indeed, I would say, you know, before I start my presentation, I would want you to just key in or write in these words: OPPORTUNITYISNOWHERE. Yes. Yes. When you just type these words, someone may see it as opportunity is now here. Another person may also see it as opportunity is nowhere. Good. There is a saying that every pandemic comes with an opportunity. Now, I will touch on the positive aspects of COVID-19 first. Now, it's clear, fine, that with the hit of COVID, our African leaders weren't prepared. It's clearly, I mean, it's obvious. But now, first and foremost, one may say that he or she is able to monitor his or her kid in the comfort of his or her home. I usually use myself as an example. I have kids I take for tuition in various houses. And immediately I get there, these kids are so happy. They are saying, "Oh, Mr. Cantreph, I'm happy you are in the house. I'm cool. I'm enjoying the house. I'm able to study and, get time. I mean, get up the time I want." In Ghana here, and I believe that happens in also most African kids go to school as early as 7 a.m. Some kids are even, their parents wake them up around 6 a.m. You can just imagine a kid, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old who has to go to school by that time. And I can assure you, the kid will arrive at home at about 4 p.m. Look at the hours. And it's been said that time is money. Time is money. So with this, I think with COVID-19, with me, when I go, the maximum time I spend is 1 hour. And indeed, there is a positive impact. The delivery is amazing. And parents are so happy and will attest to that. And I think so with this, we should look at the time aspect. So it has helped in terms of the time factor. So this has, helped us to know that, or shaping our mind in the sense that it's not the number of hours that you teach that will help a kid to grab a concept. First of all, that is what I would say. So secondly, also, some teachers are crying that our income has diminished or is gone down. Yes, in one way or the other, I may side with them. But also, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you, other teachers are enjoying so much from this pandemic. I can assure you that. And even comparing that to their salaries in their various schools, now they are able to take about 4 tuition schedules, 5 tuition schedules, and you can just imagine the amount of money. I myself,
So it looks like we have lost Mr. Cantreph. So, but I think we got some of what he wanted to say. Business opportunities for teachers. I grasped
come
there.
to stay.
And
so we ought to, make up our mind that indeed COVID-19 has come to stay with us, and we should adopt different strategies. Also, now our mode of tuition. Since the kids are in the house, if you are not technology savvy, you are the old-fashioned, you always want to write, I think then you'll be lacking. So one positive impact I think is that it has encouraged or motivated some of us, teachers, to upgrade ourselves in terms of technology. And indeed, it is really helping. Indeed, it is really making headway. I can be in the comfort of my house, give an assignment, and a kid will submit it, I mark it, and I return it. That is amazing. It's helping to save time, as I said. And I'm also making income. So this impact, I think we should welcome these impacts more, other than the negatives. Fine. One may say that pregnancy has increased. When it comes to pregnancy, I have people say that when the girls, there was lockdown and the girls came home, the number of pregnancies have increased. But I say that if a girl or if a lady is a naughty girl, he or she is naughty. If he or she wants to be pregnant, he or she will be. It's just about engaging yourself in something profitable. So lockdown does not mean you engage yourself in certain unscrupulous, activities. No, I believe that is not the case. And also, I think one negative aspect is that we've all seen, as I said earlier, we've all seen, especially when it comes to Africa, that we are not planned at all. Because honestly speaking with you, when it comes to government schools, they are lacking technology, the equipment for this kind of technology I'm talking about. In terms of the Montessori schools, they are good. But the government schools, it's so sad. I visit some of these schools. I have a foundation, which is Jokan Educational Foundation. I visit some of these schools, and you see it's quite appalling.
Okay, thank you, George. Thank you for this insight from your daily business in COVID-19 times in Ghana. I would like to start our question and answer session now, and I would come again to Foster and what he has said. What would you say? Because we try always here in Africa Talks. Not only to describe the situation in which we are, but also to think about and to exchange ideas about how to solve things which we have seen, which we have recognized as problems or challenges. And what would you say, Foster? How could governments improve the educational system? We come later, Thomas, to the question when it comes to how to get jobs or to create jobs. But first, like when we start at the bottom or at the basis, so to say, of all our societies, what would you say, Foster? Like, what should be the role of governments to improve the system?
Thank you very much, Marco, for that question. As I said in my explanation, in my presentation, there are some positives that we have learned from COVID-19. And one of the issues that we have learned as a big lesson, which comes also as a positive impact of COVID, which I didn't mention, is that it has created an opportunity for both global and national organizations or partners to have a look at the way we can deliver education in Malawi. For example, it is now very clear that we have to embark on a blended kind of learning and teaching, where we have to promote the use of high-tech learning technologies, approaches, so that in times of this, because COVID, as George has said, COVID has come to stay. So we just need to try to reorganize our education. It can't be business as usual, but we have to look at how best we can deliver our lessons in the most technological fashion, other than in the most traditional fashion. So in Malawi, there have been attempts to use the radio, to use the e-learning, so that learners are not deprived of learning completely. So one of the recovery mechanisms was to ensure that was to ensure that we also, apart from the e-learning, apart from the blended kind of learning, we also need to prepare ahead of us. We have to expand the learning space because it has shrunk so much. We also have to, you see, we also have to employ more teachers so they can also handle the increasing number of learners in the context of the social distancing, where we have kind of split a single class into two. It means where we had one teacher, we need to have one or two more teachers so that they can attend to the increasing number of learners in school. So briefly, I can talk about one, we have to embrace the blended type of learning and teaching, use of high-tech methodology, and also increase the learning space so that we can absorb the number of learners that have been split. Now there's what we call the staggered learning. Some they come in the morning, others they come in the afternoon, and we still some have to skip even a day before they report back to school. So briefly, this is some of the recovery mechanisms that we can sustain learning in Malawi. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Foster. I have a question. Both of you mentioned that there's an increase of pregnancies of young girls who were supposed to attend school and now fall pregnant. From my understanding, it always takes two to fall pregnant. So I would you see a responsibility of the boys as well, or the men? That's one side question. But what I would like to build a bridge and find out, do you think that the school system provides enough opportunities or possibilities for girls to later find jobs which can take care of them? So do you think that schools prepare girls enough to then have a chance on the job market later on?
George, you want to take it or I start? Then you can complete.
Yes, maybe George, you start.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. First, I'm very sorry for that. It was truncation in internet connection. I believe our school systems, when it comes to Africa, unfortunately, we don't prepare our ladies so much to be able to compete in the job market. There is a saying that by Kwedre Agri, was a Ghanaian, that if you educate a man, you educate one person, but if you educate a woman, you educate an entire nation. But unfortunately, our leaders have relegated this, and we don't concentrate so much on that. Most girls, I think, to me, for what I've seen and from my experience, I think they are not challenged enough. For example, when it comes to selection of class prefects, okay, the boy will be the prefect and the lady will be an assistant. Why can't it be the other way around? It can also be the other way around. But from my experiences, from various schools I've visited, always, okay, we need a boy. The boy will be the prefect, the lady will be an assistant. This has a psychological effect on the girl child, to me. It has a psychological effect. So I think we should motivate the girls enough. Tell them that you can make it. You can occupy this position. You can do this work. This work is not only meant for boys, for managerial positions are not only meant for men. No, ladies can also occupy very gargantuan positions in Africa. You can attest to that. We have wonderful in Ghana. We have amazing ladies doing so much well. In telecommunications, they are doing so much well. When it comes to industry, production, they are doing so much well. So I believe it started from their background. And I believe also we as parents should also encourage our kids and tell them that, yes, you can also be like this person in future. Thank you so much.
Foster, would you like to? Thank you. Would you like to add something?
I want to. Yes, I want to start from where you stopped, Eta. That it takes two for people to tango. the boys are back to school. The girls are at home because they have to nurture the pregnancy, right? Now in Malawi, for example, there is an opportunity, right? The government of Malawi deliberately, even before the onset of COVID, they had formulated and approved a policy on readmission, just to allow girls who have fallen pregnancy to go back to school as soon as they have delivered, right? So we are going to put to test this policy, especially this year when we are starting in January. So all the girls who might have delivered or they will deliver, they will be allowed back to school. But the policy mentions that the girls must go to a different school, not in the same school that they were in the previous term before they became pregnant. So there is an opportunity that once the girls have delivered, they'll go back to school, and as long as they finish the secondary school education, government has also constructed a number of community vocational centers just to absorb as many girls as possible, so that they can be educated in carpentry. They can also do some engineering. They do also the carpentry. They do the bricklaying and all sorts of vocational work, which they can, in the end, they can get a job. So in Malawi, not everything has been lost, because as long as we allow the girls to go back to school, some of them can even proceed to university if they work very hard. But others, as long as they can attain a certificate at the end of secondary school, they should be able to go back to a vocational center and learn a certain trade that will enable them to go to get a job at the end of the course. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Foster. Maybe we ask Thomas and bring him into the discussion, because he's working closely with companies and with smaller companies, middle-sized companies who are creating jobs. And maybe you can let us know, Thomas, how would you describe the situation? Is there when it comes, especially to our first point of the discussion, it comes to girls or boys or ladies or men coming into in the job market. Is there a certain trend visible? Are there more girls getting new jobs? What would be your experience on that?
Thank you very much for the question. I think from what we see in our project, so I'm not saying that we see everything, but directly in the projects that we implement, we have different trends, and it depends on the sector. Let's say I introduced a little bit the digital service sector already, and within this sector, we have supported the gender aspect heavily. And we did that, for example, also in Ghana. And it turns out that we have a real win-win-win. Why is that? Now, we learned that, for example, in Ghana, IT skills are rare. So there's a high demand for people, women and men, who have a good knowledge about IT, information technology. So once we supported companies with a special approach for gender and also inclusion, by the way, so we had handicapped people also supported, physical, for example, you need like special entrance, etc. Then it turned out that we had a triple win. The triple win is there is a high fluctuation usually of IT skills, of IT skilled people. But if you give a very nice job surrounding, also supporting special needs for women and, as I said, in also for other groups, then they stay longer with the companies. They have a better, let's say, relationship or a long-term relationship. So for us, it turned out to be a win-win-win. But also, I have to say, I'm not quite sure about other sectors. So, for example, in textile, for example, you have a high grade of females working, for example, in Ethiopia, even though Ethiopia is a topic right now by itself. But so my answer is very wide, I have to say, and it really depends on the sector. I think we have very good experience within the digital skills sector. We have okay experience and good experience in the textile, but there are, of course, others where it's still a big challenge.
And allow me one more question, Ika, if I may. One more question. Sure. From the foreign perspective on African opportunities. Thomas, you're working from Germany. What would you say? What could foreign governments, foreign programs do to improve the situation, the job situation on the African continent? What could we do? Is it that you say your concept, your project is kind of a best case thing? Is that the way, or is it a mixture? What would be your recommendation?
I tried very short, of course. Now, I think especially, let's say, the cooperation between governments and companies and the civil society has learned to approach its goals by a systematic way. So it's a little bit like top-down. So, if we look into education, we would define a policy, we would need to train the trainer, and then after some time, but it will take some time, you would have like educated people on the market that are being employed by companies. And I think this is absolutely correct, and we have to do that. But probably we missed something in the last maybe 10, 20 years. And in fact, I would say that the approach that we are running, a bottom-up approach, has a charm. And I think we need some kind of a paradigm shift, as we used to say, but also like kind of a new deal between education and companies. For example, if you ask companies, could you hire more people? They would say yes, but they are not skilled as we need them. And if we take them, we have to train them for another 6 months or even longer. So we need some kind of a quick win solution between companies that are willing to invest, that have demand from their supply side, and that need more people but just can't find them. So I think we need quicker reactions to this situation, and the special initiative, in fact, is an approach who's trying to do that. Of course, we were also surprised by the COVID situation, but in my example, I showed that even there we had a very good answer to keep those jobs, because it will be much harder to re-employ them later rather than to keep them for a while. But yes, I think we need somehow a new deal which goes directly, and not systematic, but directly into one point. What are the investment barriers? What are the obstacles for you companies to hire thousands of people and then train them specifically on these demands?
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have another question. There's millions and millions of jobs needed. Would you have, like, for companies who are maybe watching right now, young entrepreneurs who have ideas, would you have like a key learning or key idea where they could start and which way they could shape maybe their thinking in order to put more emphasis on employment?
Okay.
Question goes
good.
to?
I'll take that.
Oh, sorry, Rolf. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, sorry. It was aimed at Rolf. Sorry, I wasn't clear there. So maybe Rolf could start, and then you could jump in later.
Okay. In a nutshell, I think it is very clear that there are sectors that are going to produce thousands, 100,000, if not millions of jobs in the future in Africa, on the African continent. Knowing that there's no Africa, I know that. I lived there 8 years. So it depends very much on the sector, but there clearly mobility, logistic, but also health and digital skills, as I said. The whole digital scope of workplaces are going to increase dramatically. And I think I could try to not explain it, but to give some explanation why we think that is so. But we're pretty sure. So if you look into the future sectors and you look at the different value chains, take logistics and health, they are connected. And also they can be connected with digital skills. Maybe we were talking about apps, new innovations that allow to move faster valuables or pharmaceutics through the different countries. That's where we think there's a high potential future for millions of jobs. So, but as we also see, there are a lot of challenges to bring together the training field and the company field into one. And this is where I think we have to learn and be much faster. But yeah, my advice would be look into the future trends, but not in 20 years. This is right up there. After COVID, we talked to a lot of companies, as you said, and we see there's a high interest to go into these countries. And we need a new way of how to sit on one round table and talk with all partners for quick results. We need quick results, and just to complement the systematic work that we did and will do more on the bottom up.
I have just a quick follow-up on that one. Would you think that the educational system, like the primary and secondary school system, does it prepare those people who are then part of your programs? Does it prepare them properly, or is there a gap somewhere and something needs to be fixed there?
Also depends on the sector. No? And I think I wouldn't dare to give an answer. I think we need to listen to exactly those companies that are going to invest. And they would usually say, yes, we invest millions, 2 digits, 3 digits, millions into these countries. Think of, the investment for an industrial park in which you would find operations or production. You have like whole textile production in Ethiopia. This is a huge investment also by the companies. And so they, we need to listen more to them. And to make it in a nutshell, probably what we can do now from the implementing organizations like the GIZ is one. Our task is to bring those people much faster on one table and to identify what are the companies needing, what can the educational side improve also in terms of skills that are needed, because obviously that's one of the experience we had, that the knowledge is not specific enough for the companies to employ them directly. This, I think, is a phenomenon also in Germany, by the way. So this is a worldwide situation, probably.
Okay, Foster, have you got something to share on those questions as well? Foster, can you hear me? Or maybe we have. I'm not sure if Foster can hear me. So
yes,
George, can you? Oh yes. Okay, Foster's sorry. There, yeah. Yes, Foster. If you want to add something from your perspective.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you, Foster.
We hear you. We hear you. Okay. And I would have the question: do you think that schools, primary and secondary schools, prepare well enough for the later challenges to come towards creating of jobs and building your own businesses in the future?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Let me start by saying that there's also an opportunity in COVID, because a lot of youths have been encouraged now to engage in small scale businesses. The fact that schools, they require hand washing facilities, the learners and teachers, they require face masks. There is a deliberate age by government that it intends to create 1 million jobs in the next 5 years. So one area where a lot of youth will be absorbed is in the making of fabricated washing facilities. These are made from metal, and then on it they mount something which can contain water. So a lot of youth are engaged in that kind of business because it has become so fashionable that each school must have a hand washing station for easy washing and sanitation. That is one part. The second part is the fact that once a Malawian secondary school has finished class 4, if they cannot be selected to go to university, as I mentioned earlier on, the government has created a policy where they want to bring vocational training right in the rural areas. So they have set up what they call community-based colleges, where a lot of youths, after they have finished secondary school, they go to undergo several trainings. And this is an opportunity because at a later stage, there are some, they open their own businesses. Others, they get absorbed by both private and public sectors for job opportunities. So I can say that in the context of COVID, there are so many opportunities because there is a mushrooming of businesses where they have to make hand washing facilities, they have to make the masks, and also prepare well for establishing the hygiene and sanitation in schools. Thank you very much.
You mentioned in your statements before also the role of e-learning, of digitalization of education, and I would ask our teacher here in that really inspiring discussion, George, what would you say, like, what should be done to digitalize more and stronger the schools in your country? Maybe he is lost yet. There he is again. Oh. George, did you get my question?
George, can you hear us? Maybe Marco needs to repeat his question once more. Yes, did you get the question?
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I just wondered whether what should be done, whether we could talk about what should be done to digitalize schools in a better way, in a stronger way than before. You mentioned that in one of your statements, and I would like to ask, like, what could be, from your point of view as a teacher, what could be done to give pupils and students more opportunities and more possibilities to use digital tools, and so to use tools of e-learning, etc.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Honestly speaking, when you come to Africa, use government schools, because in the Montessori schools, they are rich, they are from affluent, homes, so they have all the equipments and gadgets for this kind of learning. But unfortunately, when it comes to government schools, they have no idea. Even you'll be surprised that a child has no idea of using the mouse. It is sad, but this is happening in Africa. This is serious. So with me, I believe the government, in general, there should be a restructuring of the government in terms of the education ministry. The government should restructure it, because COVID, as I said, has come to stay, so that there will be more procurement of equipments like computers, laptops, and all the gadgets that will enable and facilitate technological learning utmost best. Because, as I said, sometimes I cry, because when I see these kids from government schools, it's sad. They have no idea of what is going on. Kids in Montessori schools are learning in the house. They are using technology. Government school kids have no idea. Ladies and gentlemen, they have no idea of what is going on. So our edge, as I said, the government, African government in general, I'll be very blunt with this. Please, there should be total restructuring of our education ministry, so that we could get more computers, more laptops for these kids, and also train them train the kids how to use them. It should be continuous. It should be consistent. Each and every kid. I don't think if a kid has a computer to him or herself, it's a big deal. No, I don't think it's a luxury. Not at all. So if the kids have this, I think it will help them, because I had an experience with this young chap from a government school. This was a basic 4 pupil. And, you know, I asked him, have you come in contact with the computer or the laptop before? And he said, no. Imami Beko, it's in a Ghanaian dialect. It doesn't mean Imami Beko means my parents don't have the wherewithal, the money. And I said, oh, okay. Then what about if I try to help you get that? And the child said, yes. I'm going to do. I said, okay, come. So I adopted this child in my foundation. And as I speak to you now, I'm very happy. I'm so glad that this child is doing amazing. But take note, I'm just an individual. How much can I do? I'll do my best. But the government need to do more for the entire citizenry. Please, our children are our future. Our children. I'm so passionate when it comes to children. I deal with children a lot because I believe that in that
we get that. You are very, very passionate. And I think I would call on every individual like you. So if more individuals would be doing like you, there would be a big potential also in connection with the government support. That could be very, very strong move. I think I think I grasp something of your passion. That's really, really great. So I think, Marco, I'm not 100% sure about the time, if we've still got time for more questions, or if we are already...
I think we are more or less running out of time. We started a bit later, but we are already 5 minutes after 11. Maybe we finish that session again with Foster, that he can also say something about digitalization in his country, in Malawi, and what your opinion is on that. And then we would think I would think that we bring Wiebke again into that session, and then we close it, and then we would close it. Okay.
Okay,
so
great.
What is your situation?
Yes, thank you very much, Marco. Building on what George has said, in Malawi, it is a contrast, especially that the ICT infrastructure is not well developed, both in rural and even in the urban setup. It is even worse in a rural setup, where right now the government is grappling with the issue of expansion of learning space. Now that learning in the 4 walls may not be possible, it means we now have to change the priority. We have to improve the infrastructure in terms of the ICT. And in Malawi, in the urban setup, maybe from Ghana it's different, because for both government and private schools, it's very easy to set up to do the digitalization of education. But definitely and honestly, with you team, in the rural setup, it is even worse. We don't even know where we can start from, even for both private as well as the public schools. So we still have a long way to go in terms of developing the infrastructure for ICT, because we can't embark on the digitalization of the learning even before we have improved the infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Marco, have we also got some questions in the Zoom link?
I just checked. I just checked. There are no current questions, but I checked also, maybe interesting for all of you, the numbers. Like we had on Facebook more than 250 people watching us, and on YouTube also almost 200 people watching us. So this is a very good term, which shows us that our topic here is really interesting a lot of people, and not only our bubble here, so to say. Yeah. I think, and I'm not quite sure technically, if we have a Wiebke in the call, because she just gave me a sign that she is lost. I don't know. Maybe a question to our director behind that show. Could we bring her in, or is she lost? Or do we have lost her?
So, but I have I've got in front of me what she designed, so I can try to explain to you, even though not show you properly. Oh yes, there it is. Mm-hmm. Wiebke, you are in. Please
Wiebke,
explain it yourself. What you have got. Okay, so yes, we can see.
Yes, I think I can.
Now we hear
you now.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you too. So
yes, please explain what is. Please explain what you have there, what you grasped from the session, quickly.
Okay. Again, there has been so many beautiful, enriching inputs here. I'll try to summarize what I got. Is the same in both Malawi and Ghana, is an overwhelm of the government not being prepared for the situation as COVID started to happen. In Malawi, interestingly, though, there has only been 185 deaths, which I find remarkable. However, the schools, of course, have been closed, and since then there is no social life for the school children. So therefore, there's a lot of loitering going on. The kids have no activities. And there's over 40,000 girls pregnant, if I understood that correctly. And hence that also raised questions about girls or even ladies in adult life are still being discriminated or not. There is a whole opportunity in this around blended learning. There seems to be every technology engaged that they can get hold of, online, of course, but also radio learning. And the Ghana case showed us that it's not only the downside of teachers not having being paid from the lack of school fees, which didn't come in, but also there is new business opportunities for teachers on the other hand side. And the kids seem to like that they don't have to get up so early and can study from the comfort of their own home. So there's always ups and downs or two sides to the medal. And then we have, of course, the amazing GIZ program, which has been designed as a win-win-win partnership to create and now also to maintain, importantly, 100,000 jobs, in particular through a digital skills accelerator. And one of the huge questions around that seems to be how to be more tailor-made for the corporations, for the businesses who want to employ people, but say they can't actually employ people right away because they are not trained well enough. I think that should suffice for the moment. And
okay, thank you, Wiebke. I just got a quick question, Foster. Did we get the figure right? 14,000 or 14 or 40,000? I wasn't very sure there.
It's 40,000. 40,000.
40,000.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes, we will correct that. Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's even more impressive figure.
Yes. Okay, so we are at the end of our 4th episode of Africa Talks. I would really like to thank our distinguished panelists for their really valuable and inspiring input. Foster, George, and Thomas. Thank you very much for having you here in this show. I think we had a broad discussion, and we have just seen how our graphic recorder has tried to resume our show. We are looking forward to discussing with you another topic next week. Give us your feedback on Africa Talks at IJP.org. Again, a big thank you to our panelists, to our viewers outside on YouTube or on Facebook. And we hope that we see you next week. To all of you, stay healthy and goodbye. Take care.
Yes, thank you. And next week,
Bye-bye.
yes, and next
Thank
week
you.
we will discuss on a topic which I think we touched today, and I have the feeling it's very important that we go deeper into it, women and gender issues. So I think we can also have a look at these women pregnancies or school dropouts from the perspective of the women. We didn't have that side so much today. So next week, please be with us for women and gender in the light of COVID. Bye-bye.
Thank you much also.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you,
Thank
George.
you also. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.